Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission is always to take a massive stack of sources and extract the core knowledge, the surprising facts, and the essential nuggets you need to be perfectly informed.
And this week we are diving into just magnificent chaos.
That's the only word for it.
Yeah.
The late NFL season has been completely volatile.
It really has. I mean, we are less than 30 days from the end of the regular season, and everything is being defined by the quarterback position.
Exactly. Our source material is just full of QB stories. We've got these unbelievable comebacks, some contract-crushing injuries, and a high-stakes MVP race, that is. Well, it's still wide open.
And we're going to try and connect the dots today. You've got nostalgia, hard performance metrics, and these really tactical decisions teams are making right now.
Decisions that will define who's a legit playoff contender and, who isn't.
Right. These choices, whether it's a personnel move for this Sunday or a shift in draft strategy, they determine who makes a run. And maybe more dramatically, who's on the outside looking in.
And to set the stage for all this insanity, we have to start with the single most unbelievable story of the week. I mean, a mid-40s Hall of Famer who basically decided the Hall of Fame can wait.
Let's jump right in.
Okay, so here's the news that just kind of shook the league. Phillip Rivers, an 8-time Pro Bowl quarterback, 44 years old, is signing with the Indianapolis Colts practice squad.
After being retired for 5 full seasons, it sounds like something out of a movie.
It really does.
Yeah.
But it's very real.
And you have to start with what forced this to happen. The trigger was Daniel Jones going down just 48 hours earlier.
That devastating Achilles injury. Season's over.
Season's over. So you have this immediate, desperate hole, but then it gets compounded.
Right, because a rookie, Riley Leonard, he's also hurt.
Exactly. Dealing with a grade 1 PCL sprain, so his status is, up in the air. The cupboard is just completely bare.
The need is definitely there, but the solution, a 44-year-old. Why Rivers? If you're the Colts, why bet on a guy who's been a grandpa longer than he's been on the sidelines recently?
It comes down almost entirely to one thing: institutional knowledge.
Okay.
Rivers has this immediate, deep familiarity with Shane Steichen's offense. This isn't just, like, reading a playbook for a week.
He's actually been running it, right?
He's been coaching it.
Yeah.
Our sources say he was running this exact offense as the coach of St. Michael Catholic down in Fairhope. Steichen coached him. He knows the organization, the terminology, all of it.
So he's been coaching the playbook. He's now supposed to execute an NFL game. That's a pretty unique way to prepare.
It's incredible. And what's really fascinating is that these conversations, about a potential return, they've been happening for a few years anytime a team got desperate. But this situation was called perfect, specifically because of that familiarity. It wasn't just some nostalgic fling. Rivers reportedly checked every single box to make sure he was coming back for the right reasons.
Meaning he actually wants to compete, not just be a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
The publicity is definitely there, though. I mean, he's a grandfather. One of his 2004 draft mates, Drew Brees, has been a TV analyst for years now. So could we actually see him out there on Sunday against the Seahawks?
That's where the brakes get pumped a little bit. On the one hand, you have Frank Reich, who once called Rivers the smartest quarterback he's ever seen at picking up a blitz. That mental side is undeniable.
But the physical side is a whole other story.
It's a massive hurdle. I mean, it's one thing to know the playbook cold. It's another thing entirely to build timing with guys like Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. in just a few practices.
You're throwing a 44-year-old arm against a really hungry Seattle defense.
Right. The speed of the game has changed. Can he push the ball downfield? Can he escape a collapsing pocket? That is the huge unknown, and it's why there's a lot of skepticism about him starting right away.
That's the whole debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
In today's NFL, how much can pure brain power make up for 5 years away from the physical grind? And speaking of that physical toll, another former Colts QB, Matt Ryan, was just talking about this.
Yeah, Matty Ice, he's an analyst for CBS now, and he was really candid about retirement. He said he hasn't gotten any calls from teams in 2 years, and he sounded kind of relieved.
I bet.
He told this story about throwing with Matthew Stafford on vacation over the summer and said his arm was just incredibly sore the next day.
You hear stories like that, and it reminds you how specialized that NFL conditioning is.
It really is. And Ryan actually said that's why he partnered with Ensure Max Protein. He pointed out that after you turn 40, you lose about 8% of your muscle mass every decade.
Wow.
For a former athlete, maintaining that is huge. And the connection to Rivers is so clear. Rivers hasn't had that sustained day in, day out grind for 5 years. Ryan knows exactly what that physical drop-off feels like.
That puts this whole Rivers thing in much starker relief. But Ryan also gave his list of the best QBs playing right now. Who made the cut?
He had 3 names that sort of jumped out, and it wasn't just about team record.
Okay, so number 1.
Matthew Stafford. Ryan says he's just playing exceptionally well, throwing with pace, accuracy. The biggest question for Stafford coming into the season was his health, and he's held up.
And he's driving what Ryan called the best team in football.
That's the key part. It's not just stats. He's doing it with incredible precision on a team with Super Bowl expectations. That's a different kind of pressure.
His second choice was a bit of a surprise. Drake May.
Yeah, but you can see why. He thinks May is playing outstanding football. He highlighted his toughness, his grit, and especially his downfield accuracy. He thinks he has all the tools.
And number 3, a familiar name.
Josh Allen. Ryan's take is that Allen is the only guy in the AFC who can, quote, truly put his entire team on his back in the playoffs.
Especially because the Bills' defense hasn't been great lately.
Exactly. The defense hasn't been up to snuff, as he put it. So Allen has to do more. He has to compensate more than any other top QB.
And what did Ryan say about the Colts' current situation after the Jones injury?
It was pretty sobering. He has a lot of empathy for Daniel Jones, said he'd played well enough before the injury to earn that big contract extension. He called the Achilles tear a crushing blow.
And for their playoff chances this year?
He basically said this year is really difficult. Throwing a rookie like Riley Leonard into the teeth of the schedule, he felt their path was almost insurmountable, which, explains the desperation call to Rivers.
Right, so let's shift from a QB trying to come back to one who seemed to be melting down. Jalen Hurts. That Week 14 Eagles-Chargers game was just a turnover nightmare.
Oh, it was more than a nightmare. It was uncharacteristic panic. Hurts had 5 total turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles. But it's the one stat that it makes you shake your head.
What's that?
He was the first player since 1978 to have 2 turnovers on the same play.
Wait, how is that even possible? You have to walk us through that.
It was bizarre. So the play starts, he throws an interception. The defender who catches it immediately fumbles. Hurts is right there. He recovers the fumble. But then while he's trying to run and make something happen, he fumbles it again, and the Chargers recover.
One play, 3 changes of possession. Wow.
It just perfectly summarizes how much he was pressing, trying to do too much all night.
And to be fair, they did have that one really clever play, a variation of the tush push with a pitch to Saquon Barkley that went for a long touchdown.
That was their only lead of the game. But the broader analysis holds. He is forcing things, especially that last interception in overtime. It was completely unnecessary. It's just not the guy who took them to 2 Super Bowls by taking care of the ball.
So what does this mean for the Eagles long term? Are they still legitimate contenders?
They'll probably still make the playoffs. Their schedule is pretty favorable. They've got the Raiders and the Commanders twice. But there's this really serious question being raised by analysts like Mark Ross.
The truth.
He's asking, is GM Howie Roseman already thinking about drafting another quarterback? Just like he did when he drafted Hurts while Carson Wentz was still there.
You think that's a real possibility?
Yeah.
Or is that just frustration talking after one bad game?
It's rooted in how Roseman operates. He is ruthlessly proactive. He drafted Hurts because he knew Wentz, despite the big contract, had issues. If Hurts' turnover problems continue into the playoffs, Roseman will absolutely consider protecting the team's future no matter how big Hurts' contract is.
Meanwhile, on the other side, the Chargers got the win, and Justin Herbert deserves a ton of credit, playing just 8 days after breaking his non-throwing hand.
And he led the team in rushing with 66 yards, just pure grit. And if you zoom out, the Chargers' defense under Jim Harbaugh has been phenomenal.
That's a huge shift for them.
A massive shift. Since Harbaugh took over, they've held opponents under 20 points in 16 different games. That's second best in the entire NFL, only behind the Broncos. It's all about fundamentals, effort, and keeping that defense off the field.
All this volatility means every single game has huge stakes now. We had 3 teams with clinch scenarios just this week. And that pressure feeds right into the MVP race, which is getting really interesting.
Yeah. Jeffrey Chadier's breakdown is great here because it's not just about stats, it's about the narrative.
So give me the narrative for Matthew Stafford. Who's the front runner right now?
Stafford's case is efficiency. 35 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. But the narrative is that he's leading the best team in football and doing it without making mistakes. It's sustained excellence.
Okay, what about Drake May, leading the 11-2 Patriots?
May is the best story in football. A rookie who's first in completion percentage, second in passer rating. It's unprecedented. His weakness, though, is what voters see as a soft schedule.
So what does he need to do?
He needs statement wins. That's it. If he beats Buffalo and Baltimore in the next few weeks, that whole schedule argument just evaporates. If not, voters will probably stick with Stafford.
And Josh Allen. He's always in the conversation. What's hurting his case to win it again?
It's basically recency bias. He's won before, so he needs a truly otherworldly season to convince people again. And because he has to carry the team so much, his numbers have to be astronomical because everyone just expects him to be great.
Right, finally, Jordan Love is kind of creeping into the picture.
He's playing his best football at the exact right time. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception in his last few divisional games. The problem is the inconsistency from earlier in the season. It hurts his case against guys like Stafford and May. He basically needs a perfect finish.
That context is so important. And now, for you listening, if you're in the middle of your fantasy playoffs, we need to make this actionable. Let's talk waiver wire winners for Week 15.
Okay, we have to focus on opportunity and matchups. Let's start at running back. You should be looking for Blake Corum of the Rams.
Okay, why him?
Since Week 7, he's averaging about 11 opportunities and 56 yards a game. The key thing is, the Rams want to limit Kyren Williams' workload heading into the playoffs. That makes Corum a vital pickup, either as a handcuff or even a solid flex option.
Got it. Who's the wide receiver with the most upside?
That would be Devon Bailey of the Saints. He's led the team in receiving yards the last 2 weeks. But here's the stat that matters for you. Since their bye week, he has a 21% target share, A&D, a 34% air yards share.
And that air yard share signals big play potential.
Absolutely. It means they're trusting him with high-value, downfield throws. You pair that with great playoff matchups against the Panthers, Jets, and Titans. He could be a league winner.
All right, tight end, always a tough spot. Who's the must-add if he's out there?
If he's available, it has to be Harold Fannin Jr. of the Browns. He is, believe it or not, the TE6 on the season, and people are still sleeping on him. In his 3 games with Sanders at quarterback, he has a 28% target share. That's huge. He's averaging 15 fantasy points a game.
And if Fannin's already gone, who's the best streaming option?
You look straight to Isaiah Likely of the Ravens. Over the last 3 games, he has more targets, catches, yards, and touchdowns than Mark Andrews. But the matchup is the real story.
Let me guess, it's a good one.
It's a perfect one. He's facing the Bengals, who allow the most fantasy points, the most catches, the most yards, and the most touchdowns to tight ends. It's an absolute gift.
That is the kind of actionable knowledge we are here for. What a journey today. We went from the wild nostalgia of a 44-year-old quarterback's comeback to the harsh reality of QB health and contracts, and then the metrics defining the MVP race.
And hopefully this knowledge helps you navigate this volatility. Every decision matters right now, whether it's the Colts deciding who to put on the field or a top QB forcing a turnover under pressure. Context really is everything.
And it all started with Philip Rivers, whose return is based almost entirely on his deep intellectual mastery of an offense. So given that, we want to leave you with a question to think about. In the modern high-speed NFL, how much value does purely intellectual and institutional mastery hold against the undeniable need for 5 years of maintained physical training? Something to mull over this weekend. We'll see you next time.